Hey guys, I am Hunter with Nelson Insurance. I'm gonna go over CSA, cab alerts, and all that sort of stuff here, what it means and how to improve it. So let's get into it. All right, so most of you guys, as you're checking up on your CSA scores, your cab scores, all sort of stuff, are probably using SMS through Safer. A lot of like insurance agencies, brokers, everything on those lines, they're gonna be using a deal called cab. Basically all it is Safer times 10, so it's gonna give a lot more information. It's gonna show your ISS scores, your serious violations, give you guys your scores, your alerts, all sort of stuff. Okay. Now SMS, you guys can still use that. I would ask your insurance agent for a cab alert probably every quarter, every month, depending on your situation. If you are as clean as can be, you got a couple of units, you probably don't need your cab alert or your cab report all that much. If you guys get 50 trucks and you guys are on the brink of losing some loads, the DOT's auditing you, all sorts of stuff, yeah, I'd be asking for that probably monthly, if not more, from your insurance agent to go see how your scores are doing and what it all is. So I'll go over the CSA scores, the alerts, all sort of stuff, what everybody's looking at here. So when you got a broker or an insurance company, insurance agency, whatever, both are looking at it. Look at your guys' scores. Here's what they are seeing, and here's what this means here, okay? So you're gonna have three main sections: your DOT rating, your ISS, and your alerts. The ISS is one of the most important things, and I'll get into what makes it up. So your ISS right here, you guys have an ISS score of 1 to 100. Green is gonna be 1 to 49. I don't have a yellow, so this will be orange here, but yellow is 50 to 74, and then red is 75 to 100. You guys obviously do not want to be red. You don't want to be yellow. Obviously, you want to be green. If the DOT officer sees you and you're green, you're going to get let by 99% of the time. Yellow, it's like, okay, they can kind of do what they want. Depends how busy they are. Red is like, they see you guys DOT drive by, they're supposed to be pulling you over, so you're going to get way more inspections. That could be a good or a bad thing. If you guys are noticing that, trying to clean it up, great. You want more inspections to lower that score. If you're not really doing much and your score just keeps creeping up, obviously you don't want to be red, you don't want to get inspected a whole lot more because you're just going to make things worse. Your ISS scores are your your out of service, your basic alerts, which I'll get into here in a second, and your serious violations, so don't get any of those, obviously. Then you get your alerts here. This is based on your 7 categories here of basics. And so really I should be changing this to basics instead of just alerts here. So whatever, it's basic alerts. And then what this means here is you have these scorings of like the ISS. Your ISS is made up of all these 1 to 100. Same deal goes into the nitty gritty of all 7 of them. So I include 5 because you may not have any violations or anything along them. So typically nobody's got all 7. Let's say you got a little bit of hours of service violations, a little bit of vehicle maintenance, a little bit of crashes. It's nothing too major, so you're not going to be getting an alert for it. Some are going to be a threshold of 65, so once a score goes over 65, now you're getting an alert, now your ISS is going up, now it's showing red. That's when problems starting to begin. Same, so like right here, I've got unsafe driving. You're over 65, oh, now you get an alert. I have controlled substance and alcohol, now you're over 80. That doesn't mean the threshold's 80 or threshold 65 there. But those are the 2 thresholds where, depending on the violation or depending on the basics category, you could be getting an alert. Why is an alert bad? Well, it shows up in a bright red bar, the first thing brokers and insurance companies see. Insurance companies like Canal, who's typically been fairly lenient on this stuff, only allows 2 basic alerts. So if you got 3 of them now, you're going to be you get 3, you're going to have a hard time finding insurance. And you might be having a hard time with getting loads. You might be having a hard time with keeping some of your contracts, your direct customers, all sort of stuff. They go look at this stuff when they're looking at giving out direct contracts. So unless you guys want to be stuck taking the bottom of the barrel on the DAT board or truck stop, I wouldn't recommend getting all these violations. So let's get into what these violations are here. I'm not going to get into the chameleon alerts and the severe violations, stuff like that here today. I'm just talking about the basic alerts, basic scores, your CSA scores, okay? So you got 7 categories here: unsafe driving, vehicle maintenance, hours of service, hazardous, driver fitness, controlled substance / alcohol, and crash. I'm not an artist here. I don't write for professionally, so my underwriting or my handwriting and my art is not great. I apologize. There's a reason I'm on insurance and not those two things. So you guys really should be knowing what most of the stuff is. I can give you a basic overview here real quick. I mean, crash, pretty self-explanatory. You get a percentage. So if you got 10 power units, you get one crash every 2 years. You know, you're gonna be at a 10% there. The controlled substance, alcohol, if they get caught with weed or drinking or anything on those lines. Driver fitness is gonna be like licensing, all that type of stuff. Hazardous, pretty self-explanatory. Hours of service is false logs, going over your hours of service, what you require, what you maximum could drive a day, all that type of stuff. Vehicle maintenance is light bulb out, crack bigger than a quarter in the windshield, tires are going bad, anything on those lines. Unsafe driving, no seat belt, speeding, all sorts of stuff there, right? Okay, so let's say nobody's perfect here. I've seen guys with 50 trucks and they got some red alerts here. Everybody's gonna have an issue in some spot, right? I'm not gonna go over the definition of every single violation. Here's how you stop all those violations. The biggest thing I can see right here on how to improve it is just creating the culture. Most of the stuff the DOT provides you with ways on how to stop this. Like you guys are required to do a pre-trip, post-trip inspection. If you guys did it every single time, and the truck was looking good, there's a good chance you're probably not going to get a vehicle maintenance inspection or violation. But yeah, something definitely can break while you guys are driving. It happens all the time. But you know, it's the basics are really provided to you guys. It's all about creating the culture. That's the main thing. I'm not saying anybody here with violations doesn't care about their company or doesn't care about the culture. It's just pushing on people, getting rid of the bad guys, keeping the best drivers you can, figuring out a way to obtain those good drivers, and creating that culture of, hey, if you guys get a violation, there's going to be some punishment. Or you reward people for safety bonuses. So if you get a clean inspection, great, you get $200, $300, depending on the level of the inspection. So a lot of people do that, and I've got guys who are with Amazon who keep their scores extremely, extremely low because they just created that culture. But let's say you guys are 5 trucks or 50 trucks, and I'm trying to figure out how to improve. I'll go right here. So the first one right here, I've got unsafe driving. I'm just gonna do, again, the basics. I don't wanna make a 50-minute long video. Speed limiters is a big thing, DOT or ELD software. So if you guys got a problem with speeding, put speed limiters on the truck. I understand that you guys gotta get loads to a certain place at a certain time, but you gotta think about what's gonna cost you more money in the long run, okay? So there's that, and ELD software. Like everybody, a lot of the big trucking companies I know all love Motive because you get the dash cams, you can get the ELD software in there. You can put scores on each truck, on each driver, so you can see who's doing what, who's hurting the scores, who's better in the scores, all sorts of stuff. That stuff's actually a big deal, so you can really keep tabs on that. Motive's a really, really good one. Vehicle maintenance. This is one that's probably one of the most common I see. Like the brain dead answers, pre-trip, post-trip inspections. Everybody knows this. But what if you got to get more into it? I really like the spare parts. Keeping spare light bulbs, keeping a spare any part you can in the truck where if it's broken down and you got to stop, hey, go replace that thing real quick. There's softwares out here. One of the biggest ones I know is Fleet.io. I can't remember the other one that's really big here too, but there's softwares where you can keep tabs on all the maintenance needed on the trucks. You can do digital pre-trip and post-trip inspections. Hey, this light bulb needs to be changed real quick. Okay, great. I'll need to stop and grab a new one. You know, light bulbs are really, really the most common things. Tires are a big one, all that sort of stuff. And I'll get into this here in a second too, but the time matters on this stuff as well. So then you got hours of service. Really the most, this is the kind of the most basic one. I mean, you guys have VLDs for a reason. Again, I don't own a trucking company. My father did. I'm no expert on this stuff, but I help a lot of companies with this. But yeah, I mean, ELD software is really just a good one. Having a good ELD, don't cheap out on that thing. Have a good ELD that's going to show the hours of service. Make sure you guys are not unplugging the deal if you know you guys are needing to get to a spot really, really quick. But yeah, I mean, that's just a culture deal. A lot of it is they're just running over the hours of service. People know this stuff, and I understand that, you know, sometimes you just got to get a load at a certain place. Broker puts you in a tough spot where you got You got to run somewhere very quick, and it can just sometimes be tough. Hazardous stuff, we don't deal with a whole lot of hazardous guys. So I mean, the FMCSA put a lot of false notifications on people's profiles. So if you got that, I'd go hit the data queue, try to erase that thing. Most people know that that's not really a big deal right now because the FMCSA did put a mass false notification for alcohol on a lot of people's, or not alcohol, hazardous materials on a lot of people's DOT profile. But yeah, I mean, there's that. Understand the requirements. I mean, make sure you guys understand, when placards are needed, when the endorsement on your CDL is needed, all that type of stuff. Driver fitness. I'm gonna quit these squiggly lines here. Driver fitness is right here. Monitor license information. I mean, like I've got the same thing. We're licensed in 35 states, so we keep a spreadsheet of all. When does license renew, all that type of stuff. Do the same thing with your drivers. Hey, you need to get your med card updated. Your CDL's about expired. Just kind of ask the drivers for that stuff as this stuff's coming up. Just make sure that stuff's sitting pretty good. Controlled substance and alcohol. This is a pretty basic one. Random drug testing, quick terminations. You got somebody who's gets a DUI while they're driving for you. I mean, get rid of them as soon as possible. That's the main problem. Is if you keep them, that's when insurance companies are gonna hate you. That's when brokers are gonna hate you. They're gonna ask about that stuff. Hey, what's going on here? So I mean, if you're telling them about, hey, we did our background checks, we did our drug testing up front. There's no way to really know that stuff. A good story on what you guys are doing to correct it, it really goes a long way. And then random testing is what helps prevent it in the first place. I'll get into a story here real quick on, something that kind of shed some light on this, where there was a trucking company, I think they had 11 trucks. Driver got out, stole one of the trucks, and I kid you not, ran somebody over, so he committed murder. And you would think with that's just going to shut their company down. Well, the company themselves had a good story on how they did all the background checks on the guy and how they monitored him and all this sort of stuff. And when the incident happened, what they did to prevent this again in the future, which there's not a whole lot you really can do. I mean, how do you stop that? In my office, somebody can just walk up with a gun and shoot somebody. I mean, that's horrible. But how do you prevent something like that? You do your background checks and everything. So they had a good story on what they're doing to prevent it and how they did the due diligence up front, and really the insurance company actually renewed them at the exact same price, even though that insurance company paid them out $2 million that year for bodily injury on the auto liabilities. So now, granted, they didn't stay at the same insurance company. It was Progressive. They ended up going somewhere else, but the new insurance company heard out the story. They used common sense underwriting and listened to it, and they renewed them, or they offered them a quote the exact same price renewal was. Crash indicators right here. For dash cams, I mean, the big thing here with crashes is make sure you're putting the right drivers behind the wheel. Do your onboarding, have them be put with an experienced driver. Do an onboarding before you put somebody behind the wheel there. And then as you've got people who are driving for you now, make sure you've got dash cams. Now, do you go with dual or forward facing? I know everybody hates dual facing dash cams. Everybody hates them. Drivers hate them. Company owners don't like putting them in place. And what I might say what you guys actually might like. So there is a benefit and a negative to actually having dual facing dash cams. I think dual facing dash cams are good if you really need them. You've got fatigue driving violations. You've got a lot of accidents. You are short on drivers, and you're having to hire people that maybe are not ideal, or whatever the case is, and you got a lot of accidents, right? What are you supposed to do besides putting dual facing dash cams and training these drivers and having the culture of safe driving while you have this stuff? So if you guys are getting a bunch of accidents, yes, dual facing dash cams is what I recommend. At that point, whether the drivers like it or not, doesn't really matter, because you guys are going to go out of business if you don't install dual facing dash cams. These dash cams can alert you and the owner, the driver and the owner, if they're distracted, if they're fatigued, if they're looking at their phone, if they're keeping their eyes off the road. Whatever the case is, it alerts them, hey, keep your eyes on the road. Hey, wake up, you need to pull over. you look way too tired to be driving right now. It helps with that stuff. It alerts the owner. They can prevent right there. They can do something to stop it. Now, let's say you guys are fairly safe, right? Let's say you guys are in the green, maybe in the yellow, and you don't have a lot of crashes, but you're expanding quickly and you're worried about having crashes. Is a dash cam good, or dual facing dash cam good, yes or no? Now, here's where the negatives of a dual facing dash cam come in, is if you are fairly clean and you don't have a lot to maybe improve on already, if you have a dual facing dash cam, one of the drivers does get an accident, it's gonna happen no matter how many trucks you have, nor no matter how long you've been driving, right? It's gonna happen where you have an accident. If this is one of those deals where guy just messes up, because we're all human, he's gonna go look at all that dual facing or driver facing dash cam footage and find reasons to put your driver more at fault and to get more money out of you guys. So they can go look at the dash cam footage. The other lawyer is going to figure out every single second they took their eyes off the road. They looked tired. They checked their phone. They did anything. They're going to go back and look at months of footage, and it's actually going to hurt you guys. So there's the plus and the negative to dual facing. Forward facing is without a doubt a no-brainer. We had a guy with 35 trucks, and he had 3 accidents in the last, like a year or something, he said. 2 of them were just people just pulling out in front of the truck, claiming to be hit by the semi-truck. Just trying to get some money because I know these guys got $1 million in liability. Sure enough, with the forward-facing dash cam footage, hey, your guy's at fault. Sent it to the other adjuster or the other lawyer, whatever the case was. Looked at it 30 minutes later, like, yep, no, my driver's at fault. We're going to be turning him through his insurance. So, that could really save you guys there. I mean, it really saves the claim. If you are at fault, great. Whatever, or not great, but okay, it's what it is. At least the claim is getting turned in quickly. At least it's being settled quickly. You don't have lawyers going back and forth, oh, they did this and they did this. Here's the dash cam footage. We messed up. We're going to pay out quickly. It's going to make that claim pay out way, way less because there are way less lawyers involved. You're going to pay your money quicker. Everybody is going to be happy in the situation. You messed up. You can see what you can do next time to improve on it. And if you guys are not at fault, great. You're going to prove you're not at fault right away. There's no this and that going back and forth, and you guys might be caught on the hook for it. Some of these insurance companies don't litigate, especially if you're dealing with Progressive, Geico, anything like that. They're not going to litigate and go fight on your behalf. Oh, you got a claim? This guy says you're at fault. Okay, we're paying out right now. And you might be like, shoot, this should not be my record. This should not be paid out. My insurance is going to go sky high now. What the heck? Your forward-facing dash cam at least is going to help out a little bit there. So there's cab alerts, basic alerts, CSA scores, how to improve it, what they mean. So if you guys have any questions on it, please reach out to me. I love helping people out with this stuff. Again, I'm no safety director by any means, but I do have resources to safety directors. We have multiple people I work with, so yeah, appreciate you guys watching. Please like and subscribe, but if you have any questions, reach out to me. Thanks.